What's going on, guys? It's Krusty K's here from the Go Boys Network coming with the MLB slate preview for July 3rd. Before we hop into this one, I want to remind everybody you can get all these odds at FanDuel Sportsbook. But let's not waste any more time. We got a huge slate on our hands. So the first one, Boston Red Sox taking on Miami Marlins. It's Brian Bayo versus Trevor Rogers. I'm going to be on Boston here. I know they've struggled against lefties, but Trevor Rogers is a guy who really just struggles, period. I do think he can pitch relatively well, at least early. I do expect this one to be decently low scoring, but just really like Boston to come away with the win here. Bayo, kind of been a mixed bag this season. Definitely hasn't looked nearly as good as he was last year, but just a really good matchup for him to pitch well, truthfully. You got a Miami team who against righties over the last 2 weeks, WRC plus of just 77. So really good spot for him to, work that sinker, get the ground balls, get a lot of weak contact, and pitch deep into this one. Our next one, the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Eric Fedde versus Gavin Williams. So Gavin Williams is a guy who pitched a lot for Cleveland last year. This will be his first start this season. And I have a hard time with him being priced at minus 175. I know it's the Guardians. I know the White Sox are terrible. But this is just not a guy who I can, confidently back at that kind of price. And plus, Fedde's looked pretty good for the White Sox. Been definitely serviceable right behind Crochet, probably like their second best starter. I actually like the White Sox here in the first 5. Gavin Williams is a guy who I think he's going to struggle a bit with this White Sox lineup. I mean, they're not great, but you're kind of seeing they're at least starting to score some runs lately, make games at least somewhat competitive, and I think they can get to Gavin Williams here. So give me the White Sox in the first 5. Looks like we get them plus a half. Our next one, the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Miles McCollum versus Jared Jones. So Jared Jones had his last start pushed back. They gave him extra rest, so he's pitching now. So he's going to pitch on I think it's 9 days rest. I'm all on the Cardinals here, truthfully. Jared Jones is a guy who I like. I like him a lot. Like his stuff. Think he's going to be something. Think he's going to be really good, at one point or another. But ultimately right now, I just don't think that's the spot. He's been getting tagged quite a bit. And this Cardinals team really starting to hit righties. They're heating up. So give me the Cardinals here on the money line. I mean, Miles McCollum, obviously not a guy anybody loves to back. But you get a Pirates team who, over the last 2 weeks, last 30 days, below league average versus righties. And I just think McCollum, another guy who tries to get ground balls, throws a lot of sinkers, throws a 5-pitch arsenal too. So it's really kind of tough to lock in on. I like the Cardinals here on the money line. Our next one, the New York Mets taking on the Washington Nationals. Christian Scott versus Mitchell Parker. So Christian Scott's a guy we saw a little bit earlier in the season. He's pitching really well when he was up. They sent him back down just because he's a young kid, trying to, keep him on normal rest, not mess with his routine too much. But he's getting called up here to make the start. And I'm all over the Mets, truthfully. That's crushing lefties as of late. So Mitchell Parker, while he's been really good, this is a brutal matchup for him. Expect him to struggle quite a bit here. I think the Mets get the bats going for sure. And like I said, Christian Scott, he just looked really good when he was with the big league club earlier in the season. I like that to continue. So give me the Mets on the money line, super playable to minus 120. Our next one, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the New York Yankees. This is Andrew Abbott versus Carlos Rodon. This Yankees team, man, we backed them today, and as I'm recording this, they're losing, I believe it's 5-0 to the Reds. Luis Gil is lost at this point. I have a hard time laying this price to the Yankees because I feel like their bats are asleep. We're seeing it again, like I said, in this game's going on right now. They have no answer for Graham Ashcraft. So reluctantly here, I want to say I lean to the Reds, but I can't quite push the button. So for me, I'm going to go to the first 5 under. Abbott is a guy who he's looked a lot better as of late. I do think he can pitch well against this Yankees team who really just isn't hitting right now. Good spot to take advantage, in my opinion. Rodon facing the Reds. Reds against lefties have been better than they are against righties, but they haven't really seen a good lefty as of late. And I think Rodon at home, coming off a really bad start, kind of right the ship here. I like him to pitch well. Think this thing stays low scoring, like I said early on. Our next one, the Houston Astros taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Ronald Blanco versus Yusei Kikuchi. This is a tricky matchup, man. This series in general has been a little tricky. I know we're on the Blue Jays right now with Barrios. It's looking really good. They're up 4-0, I believe, at the moment. So, really good spot. In this one, though, I'm not a big Ronel Blanco guy. I just don't like him. It really doesn't do like the sticky stuff or anything. It just just not my guy, not a guy I like to back. But I like getting Houston here to pick 'em. I just think Kikuchi's going to struggle in this spot. I mean, obviously, the K stuff's been pretty good this season. He's been better at home. Definitely, I mean, the best I can remember from Kikuchi in like recent years. But I really just think this Houston team, they're aggressive at the plate. If he makes a mistake, they have a lot of guys who can hit it hard. So give me the Astros here on the money line. Ronell, I mean, bit of a command issue, so he could very well be out of this game like by the end of the fifth. But I do like him to at least, keep this Toronto team in check. Throws a lot of changeups. They're a team who is aggressive in the zone. And, if they're looking fastball and they get that changeup, well, there's a good chance that, they're just pounding into the ground. And Ronell's going to be able to pitch decently well here. Our next one, the San Francisco Giants taking on the Atlanta Braves. This is Jordan Hicks versus Chris Sale. I'm all over the Braves here. Braves at a minus 200 on the money line, which actually, that felt a little to me a little short for a Chris Sale start. I really wasn't sure what to make of that, because Jordan Hicks, the guy, if you've been watching, as he's converted to a starter, the velo's way down and the command has been pretty awful. So I mean, I think this Braves team kind of just has their way with him, and I don't really see the Giants doing anything against Chris Sale here. So I mean, minus 200 on the money line, like I said, it's not great. Obviously, you're not taking it as a straight, but in a money line parlay, I don't see how you don't take the Braves as leg one. I love Sale to pitch really well here. The next one here, it is the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Chicago Cubs. Zach Wheeler versus Shota Imanaga. This one's interesting because obviously Shota, he's been getting tagged, but you get a Phillies team missing, their big bats. So I like the first 5 under. I think Wheeler pitches really well. I think he can absolutely, just manhandle this Cubs lineup, for lack of a better term. And Shota, I mean, I was buying in the beginning of the season. I've kind of stepped back a bit. You've been seeing him get exposed a bit, giving up a lot more hard contact. But I'm just not sure this Phillies team has the bats right now. So give me the first 5 under. I think it's, like I said, likely 0-0 after 5, 1-0, something like that. I do like the Phillies to win the game if you'd rather go to the side. Phillies at, minus 130 on the money line. I mean, it's only playable because they're missing their big bats. Let's be honest here. If this was Wheeler versus Imanaga with the normal Phillies lineup, you're going to see, probably a minus 200 here, truthfully, even with the Imanaga on the mound. But because you have Wheeler versus Imanaga with missing all these bats, I think you get this playable money line. And I mean, I'm all over it here. So like I said, first 5 under, Phillies money line.
Wait, before we get back to the picks, I wanted to thank you all for watching. Friends don't let friends watch videos without hitting the like button. So go ahead and press the thumbs up button and like the video. If you're new here and not subscribed, you should go ahead and do so, because we're dropping new content each and every day on the Gold Boys Network. We strive to cover every sport and give out picks and analysis and valuable information for free on the Gold Boys Network. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you can get notified when we drop something new. I'm Brad Thomas. Let's get back to the picks.
Our next one, the San Diego Padres taking on Texas Rangers. Adam Mazier versus John Gray. I mean, John Gray, reliever, starter, whatever you want to call him, I'm not really sure. This is a guy who's been up and down all over the place. I do like the Rangers here, though. Mazur's a guy, young guy, really struggled with his command so far this season. And I mean, you get a Texas team who's not walking a ton, so I think it does help him a bit. His issues really come in, though, where he's missing the zone, and then when he tries to get back into the count, he tends to leave it over the plate a little too much, and those mistakes obviously can hurt you. These Texas bats have been starting to seem like they're waking up a bit, so I'm going to trust that that's going to continue here. I like the Rangers on the money line at a minus 145 right now, which a little steep for a John Gray start, but I really think it's the right side, so I'm willing to lay that. Hey guys, I just want to give a quick reminder that new users can bet $5 at FanDuel on any of the bets in this video and win $150 in bonus bets if the bet wins. Now let's get back to the bets. Our next one, the Detroit Tigers taking on the Minnesota Twins. This is Kiter Montero versus David Festa. I'm all over the Twins here on the money line. Festa's a guy who I was pretty high on when he got called up. Took him against Diamondbacks. Didn't really pan out. He pitched pretty well for the first couple innings, and then just started kind of getting tagged and couldn't recover. They luckily built up a huge lead, so it didn't really matter. But for me in this one, I just like him in this spot. You get a Tigers team who's not hitting as of late, striking out quite a bit too, especially on the road, 24.6% versus righties. This is a guy in the minors who has elite K stuff. So I really think this is a spot where he could potentially rack up strikeouts. Didn't really have the spot against the Diamondbacks. Obviously, a much tougher matchup. And then Kyler Montero on the other side, he's been really good for the Tigers through his first 2 starts. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I mean, this is just a brutal matchup here. And you get the Twins at home, one of the best teams against right-handed pitching in all of baseball over the last 30 days. And I think he struggles here. So give me the Twins and Festa to get the win. I know no one's running the counter to back David Festa, but like I said, against this Tigers lineup, I think he can navigate pretty easy. Ultimately, I like him to get the job done for us. Our next one, the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Kansas City Royals. Ryan Pepiot versus Michael Wacha. So this is an interesting spot here. I like Pepiot, even though his command is absolutely awful. And I like Michael Wacha. I'm on the Royals here. I'm going to tell you why. So Pepiot's a guy who has struggled with his command probably pretty much his whole career, but really the last 3-4 starts, it's been absolutely awful. So against this Royals team, they don't walk a ton at all. Very aggressive at the plate though, and if you put it in the zone, there's a good chance they're going to tag it. It's just kind of how this team is. Obviously, I've talked about before, their offense is very quiet in the first 5 innings. So that's why I'm opting for the full game here, because I think it likely takes them the full game to get us the win, unfortunately. But I do like Wacha to pitch well against this Tampa team. They're aggressive at the plate as well. And you get Wacha, who's a bit of a ground ball merchant, a lot of sinker changeup. And I think that works really well against this Tampa Bay team. So give me the Royals here on the money line. I think they get it done, -110. Great price. Our next one, the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Colorado Rockies. Colin Rea versus Dakota Hudson. I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but Brewers team total over. I don't know how we don't keep going back to this. In the first game, it cashed pretty easy. They haven't started the game yet today, but I envision it cashing relatively easy as well. So I'm just going to go back to the same play here because the Brewers are good against right-handed pitching, and they're playing at Coors, and I don't see how you don't go that direction. Colin Rea is a guy who has been pretty good for this Brewers team. If you want to take them on the money line, I think that pays as well. But I'm just going to roll the team total once again because I think they put up 6+ here on Dakota Hudson. This Rockies pitching staff is terrible. They are loaded with righties, and they are bad righties. And this Milwaukee team is going to continue to take advantage. Our next one, the Angels taking on the Oakland Athletics. Davis Daniel versus Joey Estes. Davis Daniel looked really good against the Tigers. I believe he went 7 or 8 innings. Just looked absolutely outstanding. And I think he surprised a lot of people because his stuff really isn't that great. I mean, he's been good in the minors, but stuff doesn't pop like some of these other prospects do. So, I mean, against Oakland, I mean, I don't see how you don't envision the same thing here. I mean, Joey Estes, he's been serviceable for sure. This game is just gross. But for me, I am on the Angels here on the money line. Probably my least favorite game on the slate. So if you're going to skip one of them, skip this one. But I like the Angels. Our next one, the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Right now, the Diamondbacks haven't announced a starter, Montgomery on the IL. So I'll be curious to see who they trot out there, like a bullpen game of some sort. Going up against Gavin Stone. So for me in this one, it's going to be the Dodgers on the money line. I'm not sure who Diamondbacks throwing out. I really don't care. I like Gavin Stone. I like him a lot. He's pitched pretty well this season. I know a lot of people will say he's a huge regression candidate, and I mean, maybe they're right. But this is a guy who just continues to go out and take the ball and continues to impress. So regardless of what the advanced metrics say, I mean, I'm buying in. Gavin Stone, like I said, -185 on the money line for the Dodgers. I mean, obviously it's juicy. Maybe pair with the Braves. But I like them to get it done here. The last one on our slate is the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Seattle Mariners. Dean Kramer versus Logan Gilbert. So in the game that goes today, we are on the Orioles with G-Rod. In this one, though, I'm going to be on the Mariners reluctantly. I love Logan Gilbert, especially at home. Kid's outstanding. And I think he can navigate this Baltimore team. So on the road, I mean, obviously they're like one of the hottest teams in all baseball. We're not going to take that away from them. But on the road, they've been a bit more inconsistent, and I think that he could take advantage. Whereas today, I didn't like Kirby because Kirby's in the zone too much for me, and he struggles against lefties. So I think it's a really brutal spot for him. On the flip side, you get Gilbert, guy who can work outside the zone a little more, get a little more chase. And I think that plays well against this Orioles team. Dean Kramer coming off injury, first start back. It's just a tough spot. Like I said, I mean, the Seattle's not crushing, lefties or righties right now, truthfully. But this lineup does have that potential. And I think Kramer's a guy who coming back could be a little rusty. And I expect him to at least give up a few runs, which I don't think it's going to take much to get Logan Gilbert across the finish line here. So give me the Mariners on the money line. That does conclude our slate, though. If you guys do me a favor, drop a like, drop a comment. I will post the recap from today in the comments of this video. Before I hop off, I will give you my top 3. So number 1, we are going to roll with the Mets on the money line. Number 2, we are going to the Twins on the money line. And number 3, we are going to go to the the Brewers team total over. Those are my 3 best bets for this slate. As always, you can get all my official plays at goldboys.com. If you have a gambling problem, don't want to hurt a gambler. Thanks, guys.